Hello, bass family, and welcome to Everything Bass. Today, I want to answer a question that probably not just in the lifetime of this channel, but throughout my time teaching and teaching private lessons, it's a question I get absolutely most often. And that question is, should I learn how to read bass notation? Should I learn to read music? And it's such a divisive topic. I've seen a lot of videos where some people just say, yes, absolutely, you have to learn to read, and if you don't, you're not a serious musician, and that's incorrect. And I've seen people say, you don't need to read, reading's not important anymore, and that's not absolutely correct either. So I want to give you my take on it, but I don't want to create division. Ultimately, what you do with your music and where you want to take it is your own decision. And reading is an investment. You have to practice it daily. It's best with private instruction. I will be launching, I'm finalizing the method in which I'm going to teach it. And I'm not going to go with a lot of technology where it's like automatically flowing on the screen, because I'm going to teach it the way it was taught me at Musicians Institute. So you'll probably see a whiteboard involved and things like that. So that'll be coming soon. But what's my answer? And in every time that a student has asked me, or one of your bass family members through Facebook or my Instagram account will say, should I learn to read music? My answer is, it cannot hurt you, and it can only help you. Reading music the answer used to be that I'd hear a lot of people say is, well, if you're going to be a pro player, you need to learn to read, and that's absolutely correct. Now you may point to people like that are famous and have albums out that don't know how to read music, and that's true. That they didn't need it, and they're a solo artist, or they're in a band that creating their original material, and they don't need it. So that's not the watermark. But if you want to be a pro player, which means most of us who are professional bass players, we have to get income from multiple sources, and it's gigs, and it's teaching lessons, studio dates, things like that. So being able to read music creates more opportunity, not only in sessions, but a lot of times parents will seek me out as a teacher so I could teach reading to their students, or I'll tutor them because they're going through school and they're not, sometimes there's not a lot of direct one-on-one with the bass section. So a lot of these kids are trying on their own and they're struggling, so I'll be paid as a tutor. So if you're looking at your goal is to be a professional musician, your sole income comes from your bass playing, then I can't stress this enough, learn to read music. It will create more opportunities. I've been able to be a last minute call on a session. Something happened, original bass player didn't work out, and I'll just say, if you have the sheet music, I'll come in and read it, and that creates that opportunity, that creates that income, and gets me exposure to more players. So there's good there. But let's take the equation that you don't want to be a pro player. You just love playing in your bedroom, which is great, and it's a passion of yours, and it brings great joy to your life. So you may say, well, I don't need to read then. So I'd like to offer some food for thought before you make your mind up. One is reading reading gives the great way for you to write out parts. And in your own personal studies, when you want to learn from other people and go, wow, I really like Duck Dunn's bass playing, I'd really like to get some of his ideas into my playing. One of the single best exercises you could do is to learn his parts and write them down, and then look at that against the chord harmony and figure out what's going on. When we learn things through tab, which again, I have tab on my written material because I don't want to exclude anyone. But if you write out with tab, you're not looking necessarily at the notes, you're looking at a number, and that doesn't really tell you what that interval is against the chord, so it's harder for you to assimilate that into your playing. Likewise, for self-taught players, the reason I encourage you to learn to sight read is, if you, a lot of players I know will come to me and say, oh, I really want to learn to play jazz. I want to learn to play jazz walking bass lines. And I'll ask them, are you interested in reading? They'll say, oh no, I don't want to read, I just want to play jazz bass lines. And I'll tell them the truth, it's harder. It's harder to really become adept at improvising jazz bass lines and jazz solos without learning to read, because of part of the study. But let's look at a resource like this. This is a phenomenal book. I just got it. I love anything Rich Appleman has done. He and I, luckily enough, became friends when he was the head of the Berkeley-based department, and I was a bass counselor at Musicians Institute and a bass teacher there. And I love this approach because I also have books by Bruce Gertz. So these guys worked together with Whit Brown, and they came up with this really cool approach to studying jazz bass. But there's no tab. It's all standard notation. So without learning to read, you're limiting and kind of not getting access to information like this for being self-taught. The other thing I really love that's a passion of mine through reading is being able to get classical music books like the Bach cello suites. I find anything written in bass clef and being able to recreate those lines, technically it makes me a much better player. My technique goes through the roof. It gives me new ideas for my improv, which is funny. You don't think that maybe. But as you learn to read and you start reading other people's compositions, you kind of absorb things that your ear catches, that you like, that you enjoy, that's different from what you're already doing. So that when you're on stage just shredding out and playing your heart out, those things do come in. It becomes woven into your musicianship. But it was only made possible by learning to read. Now the good news. Too many people have expressed that reading is impossible, or reading can only be learned if you're young, and that's all completely false. I'm not saying this as an opinion. I'm saying this because I've seen it. I've taught players in their retirement years how to sight read music, and they've done amazingly well. Plus, you're living at such a great time. There's tons of videos on YouTube about how to learn to read music. There's a lot of, you can take Zoom lessons or Skype lessons from players, and you can focus just on reading. There's so many resources. There's great books out there. To give you a sneak peek at what my plans are, is I will have a certain concept of reading. Let's say we're going to be working on syncopated eighth notes. And I'll have it written here, and I'm going to teach it just like it was taught to me. And we will go through it, and I'll play it. But you can, if you're a Backstage Pass subscriber, you'll be able to go on to my Patreon page, go to the post, find not only the written sheet music, which will also be more than I put up on the whiteboard. It'll be a lot of exercises, but a WAV file that you can test yourself against. It'll be me playing through the parts, so that when you want to say, hey, am I reading this correctly? Because sometimes you can think you're reading it right, but maybe you're misinterpreting a rhythm. You'll be able to play along with me and use me as kind of a guide to see, no, I'm not reading that well. And then listen to me and follow along and realize, that's how it goes. So that's the process I'm working on. Of course, there's a lot of pre-production and post-production to make that happen. That's why I haven't quite gotten to it yet. And I'm going to wait till I move to the new studio. So don't be discouraged because you think, don't start the process defeated. Oh, reading's so hard. Reading notation is easier than reading your language, whatever your natural language is. If you're, learn to read English, that's harder, way harder than learning to read sight read music. We have a much more narrow scope of notes, and it's also very logical. I think when you see it written out, it's very logical. So keep an open mind to it. Now, after all that's said and done, if you decide, nah, Dale, I just don't think I want to read, that's fine. That's good for you. And I'm not even looking down on you or anything. I'm not posting any judgment because I've known too many great players that haven't learned to read. I'm just saying that if you want to really get the most out of your personal study, you want to have access to a huge library of materials out there that aren't available in tab, and you want to further your musicianship more rapidly, I believe that sight reading and learning to write notation is really great for you. I'm interested to know what you think. Please, in the comments below, let's share some ideas. First of all, if you are a reader and you can kind of share with how reading has enriched your bass playing, either financially or just has grown you as a better player, please share that so it's not coming just from me. If you're a player who doesn't want to read, let me know why. Like, what is the major thing? Are you afraid it's going to take away some of your natural musicianship? Do you think it's a waste of time? And believe me, I will block anyone who makes a negative comment, but I think the discussion is important. Am I trying to change everybody's mind? No. But if you're on the fence, or maybe you thought, well, I'd like to read, but I'm too old, so I'd like to shatter that. If you want to read, we can make it happen. Or not even me. I promise you, if you go to a qualified instructor who's adept at teaching sight reading, it is not. It's actually very accessible. And taken slow with patience and practice daily, you can do it. All right, so that's it. I hope it doesn't create tension and infighting. I don't want any of that. But I do believe reading is a really great way to expand your musicianship. And it definitely opens up more vocational resources to you and opportunities to you. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm anxious to hear your comments, so please don't be shy. Let me know. And if you want to carry on the discussion, you go to our Facebook group, which is Everything Based with Dale Titus on Facebook. Yeah, if you like this video and you like some of the other videos I've done, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. Just go down, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon right next to it. It'd make a big impact for me if you could give me a thumbs up, like, and share it with other bass players. As I mentioned before, you can go to my Patreon page and become a monthly Backstage Pass subscriber, which gives you access to even more resources. I really developed this whole idea of Everything Bass to help the player who can't either afford or doesn't have a teacher near them, or for one reason or other doesn't have an opportunity to take private lessons. I wanted to fill that void, but also economically make it affordable. So for $8 a month, you have over 150 posts on Patreon with supportive materials and things that you can feed your need. All right, guys, thank you so much. I very much look forward to the next time we can hang together. These videos, making them and the conversations they create have really made my life so much more enjoyable, and I thank you for that. All right, I'll see you at the next video.